Hey folks, Matt Easton here and Lucy Easton of Scholagladiatoria. As most of you guys know, I run SG1 in London and Lucy mostly runs SG5 in Woking. Certainly Lucy runs the classes, I turn up as well and spar, but Lucy basically runs it. And I just thought I'd talk a little bit more about cutlasses because it has to be said, I did do a silly video, oh look at that, poking the Christmas tree. I did do a silly video not long ago talking about, you know, maybe it was the semen in me and all of this kind of stuff.
Was that silly?
Well, it was silly, yeah. Lots of people posted in the comments underneath and they genuinely didn't know whether I was joking or not. I can confirm this is the big reveal, no, the last reveal perhaps of 2016. I was, as we would say, taking the piss.
Yeah.
Okay? But I do, what I wasn't taking the piss about is I do genuinely freaking love cutlasses.
I can confirm that.
And I keep buying cutlasses with the intention of, you know, I see a cutlass and I think, oh, that'd be a good thing to stick on my website and sell. And I'm like, no, I can't sell it, I want to keep it.
And how many cutlasses are there at the moment?
How many cutlasses do I have? I actually don't know, I haven't counted. But there's a few. There's actually not that many. There's not
Maybe
that many.
enough.
This is a adapted version of the 1845 pattern cutlass, which is my favourite model of cutlass. And so in about 1888, 1887, they decided to change the shape of the blade slightly, shortening it, changing the shape of the point slightly. To be honest, it was probably a needless change. I think they hit the nail on the head with the 1845 cutlass and they should have just left it alone. A brilliant sword. But what I thought might be interesting to say is why, mechanically, do I love cutlasses so much? Well, because I think for a 19th century sword, they hit the sweet spot of cutting and thrusting potential. They've got brilliant hand protection. They're really robust and solid. They tend to be
as good as a backsword.
Well, okay. So this is where we come in. So from Lucy's background is in Elizabethan backswords, so George Silver mostly. And do you like cutlasses?
I do like cutlasses.
See, even she loves a cutlass.
Cutlasses are great, but they don't.
Lucy loves
to endorse them in terms of hand protection is slightly incorrect because they aren't the best hand protection. They're very good hand protection.
Okay, but the problem with
your hand could be better protected.
But the problem with a basket hilt, well, as George Silver himself says, is one of the problems with the basket hilt is you can't get your hand into it really quickly if it's in the scabbard and you need to quickly get your sword out.
Not a problem. I walk around holding mine all the time.
Yeah, but if it's a sidearm, a sword's a sidearm, and if you're walking around wearing it and your primary weapon's a gun, for example, or a pike, and you need to quickly pull your sword out, then a basket hilt is actually not very practical for that. Whereas this,
for quickly pulling your sword out.
Yeah, if you need to quickly whip it out, if you need to quickly whip out your weapon, and you know stick it into someone quickly, then you need to be able to quickly... This is
why I'm not normally allowed in these videos.
You need to be able to quickly shove your hand into where it needs to go. And if there's too much basket and too much guard there, then sometimes you can get kind of stuck on the lips of it, so to speak. But the cutlass does, for an accessible grip that you can really shove your hand into quickly.
I've got to say, I've never had a problem shoving my hand into a basket hilt.
No, but that's because you don't walk around wearing one all day and suddenly find yourself in combat and have to go, I've got to get my sword out quickly.
What is the context of this argument? Is it that we're fighting? Or?
It's in your own treatise. It's in George Silver. George Silver himself says it.
You've just said that this is to do with protection. That you're to do with protecting your hand, so it's a completely separate issue. Accessibility of swords.
Okay, let's leave that issue. Let's leave that issue alone.
So if we're just going by protection...
Okay,
so you're creating an additional argument here.
Okay, so I'll come at it from a different angle. Okay, I'll approach it. So the basket hilt does give the most hand protection.
It does.
But it also restricts the hand. It restricts the hand. It restricts the hand. Whereas a saber hilt or a cutlass hilt is open at the sides, which leaves a lot more, as the Victorians would say, it enables movement of the wrist.
Do you find that you can get your thumb right up the back of a cutlass?
I can get my thumb right up inside it. Yeah.
Because that is the problem with some basket hilts, is that you can't get your thumb right up in there.
Yeah, if you want to get your thumb up it, then a basket hilt's not the right way to go. But for a sabre or a cutlass hilt, you can have thumb up or thumb down, as you like. But most importantly, it enables you to extend the blade out in line with the forearm, which a basket hilt's very often very uncomfortable to do that. And you know, Victorian writers are clear on this subject, that whilst the basket hilt gives lots of protection, that's one of the drawbacks of a basket hilt, is that it impedes the hand and the wrist. And
it does slightly impede the hand and the wrist, but at the same time it protects the hand, which is kind of important when you're using a sword.
It's important to protect the hand, but it's also important to be able to use the sword, which is also important when you're using the sword.
Well, we all know that you can effectively use a backsword.
And the point is important. And in my experience, a lot of backsworders don't use their points enough.
Interesting point.
You do. I've got to say that's not there.
He has to throw that in there.
No, you use your point lots.
So, do you actually like cutlasses more than any other kind of sword?
So I love cutlasses, and kind of like, definitely if you're fighting on a ship, the cutlass is,
The warrior!
Yeah, if you're fighting on the warrior, so the warrior is a ship. The warrior, that sounds like a random word, but it's a ship.
It's got cutlasses.
Formerly HMS Warrior. Anyway, it's a ship from 1860-ish that's in Portsmouth, and you can visit it, and I recommend it. And I'll accept free gifts for that endorsement. But I do love cutlasses. As to whether I love it the most, I love sabres the most. So the one thing that's a drawback to a cutlass is it's a little bit on the short side. This is actually shorter.
Short cutlass,
this is a shorter one, yeah. But a standard, an 1845 cutlass, which is the one I love the most, has a 30-inch, 29.5-inch blade. You can do
quite short.
You can do the metric conversions. Well, it's only a bit shorter. So like an infantry officer's sabre is 32.5 inches. So yeah, it is 3 inches shorter, which anybody who fences
I think that makes a lot of difference when you're fighting.
You think 3 inches makes a lot of difference?
It does. In the context of sparring,
I don't know,
3 inches makes a huge amount of difference.
But if you're a good swordsman, then if you're lacking 3 inches...
I understand that it's more, how you use it, but...
Yeah, but if you're lacking...
That's quite a lot of length.
Yeah, okay, it's a fair point.
Size matters.
It is, but... Yeah, no, it is. And that's one of the reasons why I prefer sabres. And not only that, but I tend to prefer slightly longer sabres than the average. So for me, 32.5 inches is a bit on... Yeah, you like a larger sabre, don't you? And I do. I like about 34.5 inches. I don't want a
not
massive...
an excessive one.
I don't want a massive weapon that's just going to get in the way and, drag along the ground and stuff when you're wearing it. But having that extra reach when you're deep in combat it's useful. It's better to have it and not need it.
Innuendo aside, I do think that that the length makes a lot of difference.
Yes, but one of the things I love about cutlasses is the breadth, the girth of them. And no, seriously.
Downhill spiral.
No, but seriously, they're actually as heavy as a longer sabre because they make up for it in girth. And girth counts for a lot as well. And I love the cutting force to a sabre, to a cutlass. And
they do feel very choppy the way that they're weighted is.
It's just really nice having a big meaty chopper in your hand, and that's why I love holding them. And even down to the ribbed grip, it's just really pleasurable to hold to hold it. But anyway, to cut a long story short, I love sabres and I love cutlasses. I just want to finish up by saying, Lucy, you like cutlasses, don't you?
I do. I'm very fond of cutlasses.
But they're not your favourite kind of sword. What's your favourite kind of sword?
You see, I'll sound like a complete traitor if I don't say a backsword. Having
not your favourite.
Been backsworded for 10... Backswording?
Backsworded?
Having been backswording for 10 years. No, I do love backswords, and I love the replica that I have of the Mary Rose sword. But no, I like tulwars.
Tulwars?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
They're nice to hold, they're nice to cut with, they're obviously not my best friend for thrusting with, but
I think what better...
And look, there's a nice one here.
There you go, that is my wife's tulwar. And I think on what better note...
And look how nicely your hand fits on it.
What better note to finish than that bombshell of Lucy Easton loves a tulwar. Cheers, folks. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on Facebook. You can buy t-shirts through Spreadshirt, support us on Patreon, or follow us on Pinterest. Thank you.